When it comes time to creating understandable documentation, of course, the most important thing to realize is that we live in a world where things are divided basically into two large divisions. The first division, of course, are those things that act upon other things. In UML's term, we call it actors. But in the English world and other languages as well, we have the idea of having a noun or a person, place, or a thing. The next part of the things that we see in the world are those things that we often call inanimate, and while they're living or not living, they are the things that we act upon. And when we act upon things, we often call it a scenario. And a scenario, for example, would be like to grab an axe, an inanimate object, and use that axe to create a pile of firewood so that we can create a fire and cook our meal. You can see how we would have in this scenario an actor who was going to act upon an axe and interact with some fallen trees so as to create some nice crackly fire so that they can interact with other objects in their world. And whenever we're approaching our projects, therefore, I discovered that whether I'm using the Unified Modeling Language or UML2 specifically, or whether I'm using my own documentation. For example, I like to use boxes and bubbles in place of stick figures and scenarios, that the ability to communicate as well as to organize the thoughts of others as well as myself can allow me to begin to design software as well as talk about the order of delivery so as to begin to manage the finances, if not the expectations, of the people who I'm creating software for. With that in mind, I'd like to encourage you to begin to explore the wonderful world of the Unified Modeling Languages, which consists of many diagram types, or perhaps to consider using boxes and bubbles so as to talk about the types of things your boxes would like to do by using bubbles. But the one thing that you'll find that both UML as well as traditional software development has in common is something that's called a flow chart. Now, while there's a good deal of difference between an activity diagram in UML and a flow chart in the classic way of looking at our software development, there is a very strong commonality between the two, and it is that commonality that I'd like to focus upon as we begin talking about how we can begin to design as well as manage the requirements, what we would like to do between all the public, protected, and private projects that we might be required or inspired to create for ourselves and others.